Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about an extra credits video about how evil racists are bad game design. Now I'm not too sure if this channel is all about teaching people how to make good video games or getting clicks, but overall I think it's fair to say that the whole thing's crap. And I'm going to show you why.
If you paid attention to the games discourse on the internet during 2019 and 2020, you might have noticed a reoccurring argument about some species from fantasy media, specifically orcs. Now, not to worry, this episode isn't going to be just another member of the chorus talking about how if all orcs in a game are blindly evil, that it's racist. Instead, we want to discuss how that particular choice is simply bad game design.
So the fab of looking at orcs and comparing them to black people, since some games have the concept of evil racists, therefore those games are racist. Now I'm not sure if I have to tell you how stupid that is, but I'm sure I don't need to since you're not even going to try to defend it either.
Thanks so much to NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode.
Oh yes, thank you, oh glorious NordVPN, for sponsoring this crappy video. Now let's get back into the video.
Much of the recent conversation on orcs points out that characterizing a whole species in your game as ugly, warlike, and malevolent might be harmful to real-world groups, regularly mischaracterized as ugly, warlike, and malevolent.
You know that phrase, confession through projection? Yeah, I think that works pretty well here. And maybe it's because I live in the middle of nowhere, but I don't think I heard anyone make that kind of comparison, ever. And the only place I did hear it from was from the people who were advocating against it. So maybe you ought to think about that.
However, this video isn't that. Though if you want more on that discussion, Mendez breaks it down wonderfully over on his website, and we'll have a link to that in the description.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
But here, we're going to talk about something related. Why characterizing a group like this in your game can be lazy at best, and at worst, actively harmful to the world you're creating.
Oh man, that is quite the high bar you're setting here. But I'm sure you can provide some really good explanations and examples to prove that, but something tells me that you're not going to do that. I wonder why.
When designing a game's world and populating it with fictional species, a designer might be tempted to differentiate them from one another by certain inalienable qualities, like their moral alignment, violent versus peaceful, law versus chaos, good versus evil, and the like. It's a common trope in speculative fiction, but especially in the context of a game, painting an entire species with the same moral brush actually weakens the entire thing.
Yeah, but you're not really giving any reasons why though. And folks, you're going to notice this pattern as we go on. He's just going to give out random statements without any explanation why. It's really interesting. Let's keep going.
This idea that a certain subgroup, like race, nationality, or sex, has inalienable traits is called biological essentialism, or simply bioessentialism. And it's a valid way to talk about qualities like how many legs an animal has, or whether it can fly. But all too often, this concept gets misused in untrue statements, like pit bulls are a violent breed, men are more logical than women, or Asians are better at math.
Well, I guess you're right about biological essentialism for the most part, but you do realize that we're not talking about the real world. We're talking about the game. With games like this, you have the freedom to make it about whatever you want it to be, without any real world consequences. This has been a thing since forever. So what I want to know is, why is this an issue now?
Now chances are, if a game is set in the real world, that the designers are avoiding these tropes because they aren't real, as multiple fields of societal and hard science can readily prove to you. But speculative fiction offers us an opportunity to reify or make real various things which don't exist, or to exaggerate things which do. Now, bioessentialism is a tempting idea in fantasy for some of the same reasons as it is in the real world. Because to our human minds, broad generalizations are comforting. They reduce the world to simple cut and dry categories. All orcs bad, all elves good, root for these folks, not for these folks.
A game that's set in the real world. Oh, I get it. You mean like Battleship or Connect 4. And you better not be talking about those damn LARPers always causing a fuss on the beach. Always agreeing to certain sets of rules and circumstances in order to play with each other. Pause. Also, it's interesting to know that you do understand why this is not harmful in games. I wonder why you're saying that, then.
But just like in the real world, bioessentialism can present problems in fiction as well, specifically a moral one. The idea that a sapient species can inherently tend towards good or evil acts, or lawful or chaotic ones, and that moral essentialism actually undercuts the greatest strength games can bring to storytelling: the player's own power to make meaningful, interesting choices and judgments for their characters, including moral ones. So, if a game's creative choices apply a moral valuation to every member of an entire species before the players even meet them, well, now that's just taking that power away from the players. And in turn, if a group of orcs, for instance, doesn't even have a choice about their actions, are they actually evil?
Oh man, wow. So I'm gonna guess we're talking about role-playing games like D&D due to the imagery that keeps showing up. And if that's the case, you're just a fool. The player's own power to make interesting and meaningful choices with their characters is the greatest strength games can bring to storytelling. What an utter load of cow chips. I mean, the Dungeon Master creates the story for you to go along with it. They are the literal god of the universe that you're in, so whatever they say goes. Now, asking if you can go at a certain situation in a different type of way, it's all down to the Dungeon Master's decision. But if you're going to be a stuck-up bitch about it and not listen to what he or she has to say, not only are you ruining the mood, but you're also disrupting the game.
Because look, if a person, say, destroys a house, we call that evil because they chose to do so. But if a tornado destroys a house, well, I mean, is wind evil? No.
I guess the saying's true. Common sense is rare to come by.
Therefore, if a game's world building chooses to program every member of a species to destroy, aren't they more like the tornado?
Why are we here?
Now, if the player's characters are able to make moral choices, but an entire class of NPCs is inherently evil regardless of their choice, then the game is either telling the player that moral choices don't matter, or it's simply driving a wedge between the player's morality and the morality that applies to the rest of the world, blocking the player from further becoming a part of it. For instance, in Warhammer 40k.
Nope, we're done. After hearing that, we're done. Instead of watching this video, watch his video if you want to watch the rest, because I gotta give you a spoiler, he just makes a tons of shitty examples and talks about, looter shooters games, kind of like that, for some reason, which doesn't help his point at all. That's it. If you like the video, give a like. If you don't like it, give it a dislike. Please leave a comment. And that's it. Bye.